Hi, I'm Tea Obreht, author of The Tiger's Wife. Thank you to Waterstones for having me. I'm here to answer readers' questions. I've heard all kinds of advice from different writers, but it all basically boils down to the same thing in terms of what to do if you're hoping to write. I mean, the answer is write. It's just write. And commit to it in some ways as if it were a job. Even if you have a real job that you're doing, find some time during each day to dedicate just to writing. Because to some degree, writing, the act of completing something, is a matter of math. If you do a certain number of pages every day, you will have a certain number of pages at the end of a certain number of days. That's how it works. So I think that, yeah, commit to the process, and that's how you get it done. Something else is commit to the process of editing. I know a lot of people who will finish the product but then start to get kind of agitated or unenthusiastic about the process of editing and revising. And the thing is, the book itself is born when you write the first draft, but it's in the editing process that the real spirit of the book comes to life, and you're able to connect these different parts in the specific way that you want for your vision, and you become sort of more involved in the process of your own writing. You're much more of a player, as opposed to in the writing of the first draft. You're just sort of along for the ride, at least in my experience. So commit to the process of editing it, because that's where that's sort of make or break. Yeah. A lot of people ask me about the autobiographical element in The Tiger's Wife, especially, but also in my other writing and short stories that I've written. And I think autobiography inevitably ends up in any work of art, because the artist is there. However, I think that I draw on my emotional state and emotional honesty when I'm writing more than on particular episodes from my own life. Or even people that I knew. Sometimes characters will be composites of people that you know, but I think it's very important to access the right emotional place when writing. And that's where you really draw on yourself, because your preoccupations and your obsessions and your fears and the questions that you're asking yourself will make their way into the work. They inform the work and shape it. And I think that that's mostly where it comes through for me. As a child, I read a lot of Roald Dahl. And then when I grew up, I read his work for adults as well, which is equally stunning. I read Dick King-Smith. I loved Dick King-Smith. I loved Rudyard Kipling. Sheila Burnford's The Incredible Journey was a very formative book for me. I kidnapped it from the library and sort of never returned it from the school library, and never returned it, and still have it at my house. I think that the more I realize what kind of books I read, the more I realize fantastical elements played into the kind of stuff I liked to read as a child. There was a lot of animals, animal stories, which sort of came through in The Tiger's Wife, and other stories I've written. But yeah, I think that my reading as a child was very formative for the kind of writer that I am now. Yeah. The type of literature that I like to read is quite varied, and it varies in terms of time and style. For instance, I adore Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I think Love in the Time of Cholera is one of the greatest books ever written, absolutely. I also love Mikhail Bulgakov and The Master and Margarita. But then Ernest Hemingway is, just wonderful to me, and I can't get enough of his short stories in particular. And I was just in Paris and, did the Hemingway walk, like one of those crazed people with the book and everything, with a book and a map and a flashlight. It was... but also more contemporary writers like Raymond Carver, as well as, Raymond Chandler, who was less contemporary, but still. Isaac Dinesen is a huge influence for me. I think her writing is just stunning. So yeah, it's sort of all over the place. My typical working day, when I'm at my best and really engaged with the work, starts at 5 in the afternoon when I wake up. And then I usually have a little bit of a walk, and have some breakfast, which is actually dinner. And then I write from 8 p.m. probably through midnight. at which point I go to the grocery store and buy whatever it is I'm going to have for dinner tomorrow, which is usually wilted lettuce, because it's midnight, and the grocery store, despite being 24 hours, doesn't restock until the morning. Then I go back and write some more, and in the meantime, probably take a nighttime drive, so I can listen to music, because that's something that very much, I make soundtracks for the chapters that I'm writing or certain characters, and then listening to them helps me stay engaged with the book when I'm away from the computer, listening to the soundtracks. So I use driving as an excuse to pretend that I'm still writing. And then my working day ends probably at about 5 or 6 in the morning, at which point I go to bed and start over. I used to do this while I was working at Cornell, and then it became sort of easier to do when I was just writing full time. But that's sort of typical and kind of excruciating, but the only way I've been able to work so far.